Welcome to the very first episode of the Joy Hour Show. I'm sitting here in Dallas, excited to be in the studio today and welcome you to this great time together. The purpose of the Joy Hour Show is to normalize conversations that people are not having that they need to have. My name is Tom Lyman. I'm your host. And throughout this show, I will show and share parts of my story to inspire and encourage each of you to make sure you don't live in silence, you're not alone, and again, to normalize conversations that need to happen to find hope and healing for you, for a family member, for a friend. And we're in this together as we go through life and go down the road together. We talk openly about these things. Welcome to the Joy Hour Show today. The show is where we get real. We will have guests on here that share their stories about what they've been through, about broken pieces that God helped put back together to make a beautiful story. Guests that will share out of the ashes came a beautiful story in their life. And I'm so excited of the numerous guests that will be in here throughout the next few months, the next few years, as we continue to talk on the Joy Hour Show. About a year ago, I was doing the Joy Hour podcast, and my entire life took a turn. And we moved from Seattle, Washington to Dallas, Texas. And so it's been a pause in the studio here. And so bear with me as I work through some of the cobwebs and get going here. But this all started out of a deep desire to reach others and to help them feel, number one, seen and loved, but to help them feel safe to talk about things they're going through that bring a lot of shame and embarrassment and guilt. And I dealt with that for many, many years. You'll hear me throughout the episodes talking about addiction, talking about unfaithfulness to my wife, talking about people that I hurt because of my choices. I don't take it for granted that God helped save my life, and God did save my marriage, and God did restore my relationships with my children and with so many others. There's not a day goes by that I don't think about the goodness of God and how He led me the entire way through each step and continues to do so. But as I share glimpses of my life, remember this, that it's not about me, it's about God, and it's about community, and it's about connection. I strongly believe in connection versus isolation. I've seen it in my own life during those years of struggle, how I would isolate in my own shop late at night, or isolate in my vehicle parked on the side of the road, or whatever. I would isolate in my mind and I wouldn't talk to anybody. I had a lot of emotions and feelings that were bottled up. And so then I found alcohol and I bottled them up, all right. But whatever a person's going through, I have found this, that mental health struggles, addiction struggles, they always get worse during isolation, and they always get better when people are connected. So again, the purpose of the Joy Hour Show is to normalize conversations that maybe you're not having, you're not hearing, and you don't feel safe to open up and truly be yourself and to say, this is me, this is where I'm at. And I've fallen and tripped so many times, but I want to stop falling and I need to ask for help. And so it's to encourage every listener out there, share this with a friend, share this with a family member. You never know what people are going through. And you know, I'm tired of losing people. I'm tired of losing men and friends that they're not here anymore because they didn't talk and they didn't open up and they didn't feel safe. And so we're working as hard as we can to help create an atmosphere where people can talk. And through this, there'll also be discussions and interviews on success and what people have done to pursue a good life as far as work success and business. That's great. But more importantly, family success And you'll hear me talk a lot about the family unit and how important it is to be the best father that we can be, the best mother that we can be, and to encourage open dialogue with our children and with other families in a safe environment about real talk and real life. So again, I hope you enjoy the Joy Hour show. We are rapidly growing and so excited. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please reach out. Again, I'm here at headquarters of Only Source in Dallas, Texas, and so thankful for this studio and all the support here from the team. But my question for you, what might you be holding in and hiding because of fear of what other people think? You see, I've been doing research lately on what are those reasons? Why is public speaking one of the biggest fears? Why do we long so much to be liked and loved by others that we alter who we really are? I mean, I still have challenges and struggle with being myself quite often, especially in front of the camera. Through the last few years, I've become a little more accustomed to it, but it's easy for the mind to start thinking, well, what are they going to think if I say this? What are they going to say if I act like this? And I think all of us deal with that at certain points in our life, sometimes louder and sometimes quieter, but it's there. It's a voice that says, I want to be liked. I want to have followers. I want to have subscribers. And so if we're not careful, we can alter and change who we are as a person to maybe get more followers, more likes, more smiles, more pats on the back, right? Because people like us. It feels good. So with that, as we're in the Joy Hour studio here and we get more and more guests on here, I do hope that the message stays really clear that this is a show, this is a podcast to take off the mask, to be ourselves, and to say, this is my story. This is where I'm at. I find people's stories fascinating. I sit and talk. People say I talk a lot. I do listen. I listen quite a bit. I spend a lot of time on the phone. I spend a lot of time in meetings, and it feels like I do a lot of daily interviews just naturally. And so many times I wish I could capture those. There was a time in my life I had a notebook and I would capture people's stories with their permission, and it was fun. But now we'll be capturing those with a camera. And again, it's a time to take the mask off and just say, this is where I'm at. So briefly on this first episode, what I'll share with you today, in the book of Tom Lyman, I am 47 years old, and so I have 47 chapters. The way I look at it, each chapter, it tells a different part of Tom Lyman. And there's chapters that are being written now, and there's future chapters, I hope. Of course, no man knows what can happen tomorrow, but I'm here right now. I'm here today. I'm taking a breath, and I'm saying that I'm thankful for today. I'm thankful for what God's done in my life. But I will reflect quite often on the past, because we're not meant to forget. We're meant to use the past to learn and to teach and to improve. And so when I reflect on the past, it's never going to be stories of how great it was to do alcohol or drugs or any of the things I got into. Was there times where it was fun? Sure. Did I feel happy? Yes. That's why it's called happy hour. That's why there's parties that are exciting. Hey, it's Friday. Hey, it's party time. However, I was always longing for more of a depth, more of a true depth to others and a true depth to myself that I could never find when I was intoxicated. I could never find in myself or others a real, this is me, this is who I am, and a depth that I longed for. And so I started thinking through these years of addiction that went from alcohol, steroids, cigarettes, cocaine, meth, pornography, all of these things that would go into my eyes or my mouth or my body in one form or another. And I started thinking, why? And again, there were always times of isolation at first and by myself, kind of sneaking it. And of course, then I'd go to parties and be around people that were doing the same thing. But I'll tell you, they weren't openly in front of my children because I didn't want them to see the real Tom. They weren't openly in front of my wife because I didn't want her to see the real Tom. And so there was a lot of guilt and shame for not being the man that I was meant to be throughout those chapters. And so I look at that and I think, what was the real underlying issue? I had a great family, great upbringing, but I got off track. And I look at the ultimate source of things, and it was and always will be my heart. How tender is my heart? How much have I really forgiven others? How much have I forgiven myself? How much have I accepted myself? How much have I accepted others? And so through a lot of programs, I went to rehab twice, inpatient, outpatient, NA meetings, AA meetings, counseling, Celebrate Recovery, many other programs, of which I still attend quite a few. And some I teach and some I sit and listen, but I find it fascinating to dive into a deeper understanding of who Tom is, who Tom's meant to be, who Tom was, and using and allowing God to use those broken pieces and make a beautiful vessel. You know, this cup right here couldn't hold any water if it was broken and shattered all over the table. But because it is a functional cup, it holds water, which I'm going to take a drink real quick. I needed that. But this water, this bottle, this cup serves a purpose. You serve a purpose. I serve a purpose. When we serve others, when we get the healing we need in our lives, and then we turn around and we help. You know, it's kind of hard for hurt people to help others to the extent that we're meant to be. But healed people can. Healed people can be God's hands and God's feet. We can write books. We can do podcasts. We can write music. We can meet somebody at a coffee shop and speak into their life. We can look at somebody and say, you know, I get it. I understand. And what you're going through is normal. And you're going to make it. Here's some ideas. Here's some books. Here's some thoughts. Here's a great podcast. Be encouraged. Be inspired. You got this. And so as we go through these phases, what God's done in 3.5 years of my life has led me to a lot of resources that I'll share throughout the show that have worked for me. Of course, they're only going to work for you or whoever listens to this if you use them. The tool that works is the one you use over and over and over again. And so God has given me a roadmap and what I call a blueprint for living a life of freedom and a successful life where I am laying my head down each night knowing I'm a great father. I'm a great husband. Didn't say perfect, but I am doing great, and it's better every day. A lot of this comes into coaches and counselors that I have in my life that have encouraged and inspired me when I doubted myself, when I felt imposter syndrome. There's a lot of great coaches. I won't start naming names or I'll miss a few, but you know who you are. I love you. I thank you for what you've spoken in my life these last 3.5 years, and won't take that for granted ever. But they've inspired me to say, hey, do it, act on it. And so something God gave me that I will teach on and coach on is a very unique process that I have now written out and ready to share with those that are ready to receive and hungry for help, is recovery, discovery, and action. And in my life, as I went through the process of recovery, I didn't stop there. I didn't get stuck in a mode of I'm just in recovery over and over again. Because see, for me, that wouldn't work. If I was just in a lifestyle of recovery, I would relapse. But God started speaking into my life through reading, through counseling, and through quiet time, a lot of quiet time outside. And he started giving me these little ideas. And with these ideas came Joy Hour, the event, which I'll speak on often. Now the Joy Hour podcast, the Joy Hour show, but a lot of other things he's spoken to my life as ideas of what I'm supposed to do. And so my point is, during this recovery process, there was like these discovery moments where it's like, that was for me, that's unique, that's what I'm supposed to do. And then the big challenge was action. So if I get hung up in recovery, I'm just a choice, just a moment away from relapse. But when I start hearing these thoughts and this voice that tells me, you should do this, you should try this, you should start a podcast. And when I get the confidence to do it, then it's action. And I'll tell you this, what's given me the most strength to overcome all the things I mentioned, addiction, unfaithfulness to my family, dishonesty, all of these things I was dealing with, is living a daily intentional life, acting on it. I share my story every time I meet a new person. Everywhere I go, I find an opportunity very quickly to share what has happened in my life, what God has done in my life and my marriage and my family. And with all of that, when I act on it every single day, it gives me the victory, it gives me the strength, and what it really gives me is purpose. You see, when a man lacks purpose, he seeks to fill his day with pleasure and comfort, which I did a lot of. But when a man has purpose, he doesn't have time for that stuff. It's my question. Do you have purpose? Do you want healing? Do you need hope? There is hope. There's always hope. As long as there's breath, there's hope. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what your family member's going through, just remember that. As long as there's breath, there's hope. Each person makes their own choices. We're not victims. Everybody makes their own choices. Nobody forced that bottle to my mouth. Nobody forced that cocaine in my nose. Nobody forced me to look at the wrong things, listen to the wrong things. Nobody forced me to be unfaithful to my wife. None of it. I made those choices. So at the end of the day, there is a roadmap. There is a plan that works, but each person makes a choice. And when we get hungry, like real hungry, then it will work. Are you hungry? Are you ready for hope, for healing, for a life that's abundant and full of purpose? Because it's a lot of fun. It really is. These last 3.5 years have been the best chapters of my 47 chapter book. And I anticipate and I know that they're going to keep getting better and better. You see, with God and together, we got this. I hope that you all enjoy the Joy Hour show. If you're interested in being a guest, if you have any questions, if there's anything at all that you'd like to talk about on these topics, I'm your host, Tom Lyman. Love you, rooting for you, cheering for you. God's got a plan for you to live a life full of purpose. Until next time, God bless.